Jim Henson presents a Muppet Babies video storybook. Hi there, and welcome. How are you today? Well, you're going to be even better in a minute, because I'm going to read you 3 Muppet Babies stories. 3. Can you count to 3? Anyhow, the first one is called Kermit the Hermit. You know, I always like it when you visit me here, but other times I like being alone for a while. Do you ever feel that way? Well, Kermit the Hermit is all about those kinds of feelings. It was written by Barry Keating, and the pictures were drawn by Tom Cook. It was spring cleaning time in the nursery room, and nothing was safe from the dust mop and broom. Nanny had hired a house cleaning crew to make the whole nursery shiny and new. They shampooed the furniture, dusted the toys, and filled the whole room with confusion and noise. Kermit had nowhere to read or to play. He wished that the strangers would just go away. Too many people, thought poor little Kermit. Life would be better if I were a hermit. A hermit is someone who lives all alone in a cave with no furniture, TV, or phones. There's nobody there, so it's peaceful and quiet. That's just what I want, figured Kermit. I'll try it. So he scrunched up his eyes and he let his thoughts wander to an empty old cave in the hills way up yonder, an echoing cavern with no one in sight. Now I'll be a hermit, he said with delight. He got a big stick and he grew a long beard, for hermits, thought Kermit, should look a bit weird. He crawled through the cave, every crook, nook, and cranny. There was nobody there. No house cleaners, no nanny. No one to talk to, no friends big or small, no playmates to play with, no people at all. It was too calm and quiet. There was nothing to do. He needed excitement, a stranger or two. Scrunch came a sound which startled poor Kermit, and up through the floor popped a worm named McDermott. I bring you good news, said the worm. Pay attention. Your cave is the site of a hermit convention, and you shall be chairman of all the great hermits and give out the prizes and hermiting permits. I'll do it, said Kermit, politely but proudly. Just then someone knocked on the door rather loudly. Is this Kermit's cave? Called an old hermit crab. Then he sat on a boulder and started to gab. He talked about hermits that some folks called llamas, who shave off their hair and wear burlap pajamas. Just as he mentioned them, several walked in, singing and making a glorious din. The crab then told Kermit of hermits called monks, who sleep on the mountain in creaky old bunks and live on a diet of sausage and ham and paste little labels on bottles of jam. Just as old Krabby had mentioned their name, into that cavern the merry monks came, carrying poles, for they do love to shinny 'em, converting the cave to a monk condominium. New hermits walked in. They were young ones called rookies, munching and lunching on fresh hermit cookies. Beachcombing hermits brought barrels of sand. Hermits with horns formed an all-hermit band. Hermits kept coming, more hermits, then more. They could hardly all fit through that little cave door. Hermits with pets and hermits in pairs, small hermit turtles and big hermit bears. Hermits with feathers and hermits who sneezed. Hairy old hermits who did as they pleased. Fat ones and skinny ones, all shapes and sizes, danced up to Kermit for permits and prizes. The cave was so full, Kermit had to cry, "Stop!" And just as he did, his dream broke with a pop. The cave disappeared. He was back in his room with Nanny, the cleaners, the dust mop, and broom. But now that his hermit adventure was done, he knew that a big noisy crowd could be fun. So he grabbed up a broom and helped out like a friend. "I'm proud of you, Kermit," said Nanny. The end. Wasn't that the very best story you've ever heard? Well, then how about listening to this one? It's a story about baby Piggy. Now, do you know how to read yet? Because I learned to read when I was a little older than you, and so did Piggy. But one day, before she knew how to read, Piggy received a mysterious note. Can you imagine who it was from? Well, Piggy tried to. A Love Note for Baby Piggy was written by James Howell, and Kathy Spar drew the pictures. One sunny morning, baby Piggy woke early. "What a great day," she thought, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. She gazed at baby Kermit, who was still sleeping, and sighed, "What a great frog." Just then, she noticed something sticking out from under her pillow. She pulled out a large sheet of paper with writing on it. All around the writing was a heart, made of bits of yarn and buttons and used erasers and pieces of an old banana peel and all sorts of interesting things. "What does this mean?" baby Piggy wondered. "Someone has sent me a note. And this writing, why, it must be a secret code." Piggy looked at Kermit and sighed once again. "I'll bet it's a love note from Kermit. I'll imagine what it says. I know the kinds of things he would say to me if only he were brave enough." Baby Piggy imagined the note to say, "I love you, Piggy. It's plain to see. Please, oh please, will you marry me?" "Marriage," Piggy thought. "I'm so young. But yes, Kermie, I will marry you." She imagined herself walking down the aisle to the tune of "Here Comes the Pig." All their friends were at the wedding. Everyone was having fun. "I could dance all night," Piggy said, as Kermit swept her across the floor. "You're light as a marshmallow," said Kermit, "and twice as sweet. But we must leave." "Leave? We didn't eat yet." "I know," said Kermit, "but it's time for us to go on our honeymoon." Baby Piggy looked at the love note again and imagined it to say, "A bright blue balloon with streamers unfurled will take us away on a trip round the world." "Will it take us to Paris, France?" Baby Piggy asked Kermit. "I've always wanted to go there." "Then Paris it is, my little gumdrop," Kermit replied, and off on the breeze they flew. "Oh, look," cried Piggy, "there's the awful tower." "I don't see what's so awful about it." Piggy," said Kermit, "I think it's called the Eiffel Tower." "Never mind," replied Piggy. "Now that we're here, when do we eat? I hear the French fries are out of this world." "Not yet," said Kermit. "I have a surprise for you first." Kermit took Piggy to a fancy shop. "A Paris party dress?" said Piggy as she looked at her presents. "And matching socks." "Gee," she thought, "Kermie gives me the nicest things." Then she said aloud, "Now, how about something to eat?" But baby Kermit just grabbed her hand and whisked her off to the waiting balloon. Soon they were flying over the tops of huge trees and vines. "The jungle?" Piggy gasped. Yes, my little potato chip, said Hermit. We're going on a safari. Isn't that romantic? I guess so, as long as the animals aren't as hungry as I am. On top of their elephant, Piggy and Kermit rode through the leafy jungle. They saw tigers and monkeys and strange birds of many different colors. Crossing a river, they were surrounded by crocodiles with open mouths. I wish we were someplace else, Piggy whimpered, hugging brave baby Kermit. Then she thought, I know a way out of this. Piggy imagined that the note also said, Tell me your wish, from the most to the least, I'll take you away north, south, west, or east. This time, the balloon carried them to China. These gardens are so beautiful, baby Piggy sighed after the balloon had landed. Not half as beautiful as you, my little fortune cookie, said Kermit. I wish you'd stop mentioning food, said Piggy. I'm starved. Oh, look, there's a place to eat. Let's go. Inside the restaurant, Piggy said, I can't decide whether to have the chop suey burger or the pizza with noodles. Just then, a waiter appeared. Piggy looked at him for a long time. For some reason, she felt as if she knew him. I brought you my favorite dish, said the waiter. It's rubber bands and mud balls, lightly fried in a delicate moss sauce. Now Piggy was sure she knew the waiter. Gonzo, she shouted, what are you doing here? This is my fantasy. Well, what do you think of the dish? Gonzo asked. Do you like it? Suddenly, baby Piggy felt someone poking her in the ribs. It was Gonzo. She was back in the nursery. Nanny had already brought in breakfast. Do you like it? Gonzo asked again. Like what? Said Piggy. My note, said Gonzo. I made it all by myself. This note is from you? Gonzo nodded. I should have known, said Piggy. She tried to hide her disappointment. Piggy marched over to Kermit, who was standing by the breakfast table. Kermit, she said, I can't believe this love note isn't from you. She wiped away a tear. After all, you called me your little marshmallow, your little gumdrop, your little fortune cookie, even your little potato chip. Gee, said Kermit, shaking his head, I don't know what you're talking about, but you sure sound hungry. Why don't you eat breakfast? Baby Piggy sat down at the breakfast table and began to eat. There's nothing like a little cinnamon toast, jam, oatmeal, scrambled eggs, orange juice, and a banana to make you feel better, she said with a sigh. As they were eating, Kermit leaned over and said, Piggy, will you... Yes, Piggy asked eagerly. Will you play with me after breakfast? Baby Piggy smiled sweetly. Of course I will, my little Kermit. Let's pretend we're going on a trip around the world in a big blue balloon. Okay, said Kermit. And that's exactly what they did. Wasn't that exciting? You didn't think that was exciting? Well, I did. Baby Piggy had quite a puzzle to solve there. Our next story is also about a puzzle, but it's the kind that has all sorts of pieces that you put together, you know? I always like to start by putting all the pieces with straight edges together, and then I do the middle part. How do you do it? Well, you know who also likes to do puzzles? Scooter and Skeeter. But they have a real problem in this story. One of the pieces to their puzzle is missing. It's called Scooter and Skeeter's Merry-Go-Round Puzzle. And it was written by Dinah Anastasio, and John Spears drew the pictures. Think of a puzzle. You're just about done. You found all the pieces except the last one. It's not in your pocket, your bed, or your shoe. The piece can't be found. Do you know what you'd do? Well, that's just what happened to Skeeter and Scooter. For Scooter was bored with his trusty computer, and Skeeter was looking for something to do. So they took down a puzzle, but not one they knew. They worked for an hour, not making a sound. They were piecing together a merry-go-round with 4 prancing horses, 2 bears, and a yak, and a hungry old lion in search of a snack. They thought they had finished the merry-go-round, but one piece was missing. It couldn't be found. They tried to imagine what creature might fit. In his mind, Scooter saw one and shouted, "That's it!" The piece that was missing just might be a deer. She would fit in the space. That was perfectly clear. But that big yellow lion was chasing behind her. If she couldn't escape, he was certain to find her. "Just pretend," Skeeter said. "We can help out that deer, for the lion behind her is getting quite near." "We'll steer her away from him," Scooter replied. So they jumped on the deer and hung on for the ride. "Imagine a forest right there," Scooter cried. And there was a forest right there by their side. "Let's take off," Skeeter said. And then with a bound, they jumped with the deer off the merry-go-round. The lion decided to keep up the chase. So he jumped off behind them and started to race. The lion was close. Would the babies be beaten? If they didn't do something, they feared they'd be eaten. "Let's exchange this slow deer," Skeeter said. "Here's what's needed." They jumped on a rabbit and promptly proceeded to climb in a hole. It's a safe place to stay when you're hoping a lion will soon go away. But the lion just stayed there. He hissed and he waited, while Skeeter and Scooter discussed and debated. How could they escape? What were they to do? What creature could help? They thought that they knew. A mole was the answer. A mole would not blunder. A mole would just burrow a hole that went under the lion above them. A fine resolution. At last they had hit on the perfect solution. The mole dug that hole without making a sound. It dug and it dug till it made its way round that mean yellow beast, getting thinner and thinner, who wanted for Skeeter and Scooter for dinner. The mole burrowed out at the foot of a tree, while Skeeter peeked over her shoulder to see if the lion was there. Oh, it was, yes indeed, and it headed for them at a frightening speed. Scooter was scared, and he started to shake. With a stammer, he said, "We have made a mistake. That mole helped us out. That was all right, I guess. But we'll need some more help to get out of this mess." "What we need," Skeeter said, "is a tall kangaroo that will jump us away." "Yes, a tall roo will do." "Kangaroo?" Scooter asked. "But that lion's tremendous. Only an elephant's sure to defend us." An elephant? No, Skeeter said. He'd be slow. But 2 cheetahs could outrun that lion, you know. Skeeter, said Scooter, the problem with cheetahs is just like a lion, they'd probably eat us. Wait, Skeeter cried. To get out of this bind, the real missing piece is the one we must find. So they searched through the nursery, and guess what they found? The very last piece of the merry-go-round. A plane beats a lion in any old race. A plane can take off and go any old place. A plane can outroar all that roaring and hissing. So isn't it nice? That's the piece that was missing. Gee, that was some adventure. Scooter and Skeeter were really in trouble there for a while, weren't they? But I'm sure glad they found the missing piece to their puzzle in time. And speaking of time, we're just about out of it right now. But I'll be back soon, and next time we can read some more Muppet Baby stories together. That is, if you've learned how to read. And if not, I'll read them to you. Anyhow, bye-bye now.